for the People with your host, Attorney Ali Shamsuddin, and guests. Heard every Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. exclusively on 90.1 FM WMPR. This program shall focus on facts that we share with each other on this platform designated to inform, educate, and organize our communities in Jackson and abroad. No rational comments or opinions are regarded as being irrelevant, as your comments and participation could prove to be the cornerstone of our goal, being to restore moral ethics, integrity, respect, and progress in efforts to reach for a better future in all aspects of the everyday lives of our family and our children. We now join your host, Ali Shamsuddin, and guests, bringing to you Standing for the People, where together we can, heard exclusively on the Voice of the Community, 911 FM, WMPR.
Good evening. Good evening. It's 7 p.m. Wednesday, and I'm Ali Shamsuddin, and this is Standing for the People. As I say, this program is always brought to you by the people. And when I say by the people, I mean citizens just like yourselves, taxpayers out there who got together and said, Shamsuddin, you used to do a show, Views from the Black Side with Mr. Tisdale on Friday nights. Now we want you back on there to bring us facts that we can use. As I always say, too, this is not a gossip show. So we're not here to gossip about anybody. We don't want to hear about anybody's personal lives unless it has something to do with how they're spending our tax money. But outside of that, we want to bring facts that you can hear, that you can use and learn how we can make our lives better. You know, we have been running things here in Jackson and Hinds County for almost the past 30 years. And I'm saying Jackson, Mississippi, and Hinds County, we're in the news. We're in the international news, people. People you got programs on in the media now talking about Mississippi and the things that Mississippi still are doing backwards. And you know, here we are in Jackson. We run the city, we run the county, we run the school, and we kind of say, why are we still not progressing? Now, look, don't get me wrong. I know there's still a whole lot of racism going on in Mississippi. That's to be understood. That's the point. But outside of that, we have city government, we have county government, we have the school districts, and all of those are in charge of millions of dollars that they don't have to ask the governor or the legislature how to spend it. So now for whatever they have, it's there under their control. Now, I have one of our supervisors here. Last couple of weeks ago, I had Miss Banish here, and she's the county supervisor. Is that correct?
She's a controller. County controller.
Comptroller. And she gave us some very good information.
Right.
And I talked with you a couple of Sundays ago, and you promised that you come on.
I did.
Yeah, and I told you, well, look now, people are calling in. They're gonna have
and that's okay. I'm people know me. I may sell you a pie, but I ain't gonna tell you a lie.
All right, then. Well, see, I got a supervisor from District 2, Tony Smith, that's Hinds County supervisor, one of the newly elected ones.
Yes, sir. I came elected in 23, and I won fair and square, and I was a campaign. Oh. And I'm the one that's also been in court 5 times.
Well, we might talk a little bit about that too, but just from your viewpoint, what are some of the things that a supervisor really has an impact on?
Well, our main focus and things that we have to do, we set the taxes, we make sure the roads and bridges are taken care of, we make sure that the grass is cut. The problem that we've had, and people don't understand that in the last 2 years that we've been here, we came in a run, a negative. I had a $580,000 negative coming into the position. We've had 2 public works directors, and then we had an interim, and now we finally got a good public works director. People were interfering in the day-to-day operations of the public works director, so things just was not getting done. So that would cause them to quit or just have to leave. So now that we have a good one, we have a good working relationship, so things are getting done. I tell people this Hinds County consists of about 1,200 miles. they're broken into 5 districts. Now, my district, unfortunately, encompasses about 650 miles of roads. District 3 and District 1 has about under 175. So 175 miles. The only one that's near me is by Supervisor McGowan. He has about 3 or 400 miles. So if we all have the same amount of money, it's hard to get things done. And we have a system. Pick somebody, call them to the office. What I'm going to do is grade the road from 1 to 5, 1 being the least, 5 being the worst. And I'm going to take care of the ones that's the worst, because the children are on buses and these roads are so terrible. They has to be done.
We can agree with you there. Now, I have to throw this in there.
Yeah.
Because Pastor P.J. Williams would run me out of town if I did.
Throw it at me.
And Reverend Jackson. Now, that bridge over there on Martin Luther King, over there by P.J. Williams church.
Yes.
Is it in the workings? Do y'all have any plans to do that?
Let me tell you something. I have formed something totally new, never been done before. I have what's called a bridge team, and the bridge teams comes in every 3rd Wednesday. And this bridge team started with Hinds, just Hinds County. Now we've incorporated City of Jackson, City of Byron, and the City of Clinton in this. So with this, we come in and discuss ways how all the bridges in the county. Jackson came in and we showed them the first month how to save $700,000 on $1 million bridge. He said, "What? Yeah, we can get this bridge done by using the old caps and put new pylons in." He said, "We never knew that." Then we say to him, "Well, we can work together with you and we can come in and splice a pylon and save you that $300,000." So, I mean, Martin Luther King, to answer your question, the Lorenzo Anderson, the new public works director, which he is awesome, and George Lewis, our new one, is awesome. They're working on it. Okay, that's in the making right now.
It's in the making. Do we have any type of time frame that you Reverend Jackson? I know you're hearing me.
Well, now I'm not going to give you the time frame because that's Jackson's. I stay in my lane.
Okay.
They told me it isn't working. One thing, people know me. I tell you, I'm gonna be straight. Most people are not ready for a politician like me, because if you answer me something, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Some people say, "Well, look," I told somebody, they asked me, "When does the road gonna get done?" I said, "It's not gonna get done." I spent $80,000 on that road, and I don't have any more money. Now, if people will tell you and promise you anything, but I'm not the one that's gonna tell you the lie. I'm gonna tell you what it is, and if I be crucified for that, then so be it. But I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Okay, John, you just mentioned budget, right?
Budget.
And I was asking the comptroller, does each one of the supervisors have a budget to work with, or how do you go about doing it?
Well, that's a complex issue right there. We are on a unit system, and we suppose what we got to do, and which I'm pushing to get a 4-year road plan. The 4-year road plans will determine on which roads are fixed first in the city and county. Until we get that, nothing will be properly dispersed. You know, like I had $190,000, $1.9 million for 2.5 years.
Okay.
Now you take 600 miles of roads. That's nothing. Now, last year, the state didn't give no county in Mississippi any money. This year, they gave Hinds County $2.5 million. Each one of us get $500,000.
Back up a little bit there. Okay. You said the state.
The state gave Hinds County $2.5 million.
Which they didn't give them the year before?
Didn't give anything the year before.
Did they stipulate what you have to use it for?
Well, this is the way. Each of this 2.5, it'll be divided up to 500,000 in each district.
Okay.
Now, I did get another 500,000 this year for Presidential Hills because they had such flood problems. So I'm going to go in there and get everything cleaned out to give them some relief. That's important.
Okay.
But what people need to realize, they say supervisors are stealing money. No, they're not stealing money. People need to understand that a lot of our money, their tax dollars, go for housing inmates. Now, we spent over $12 million last year for housing inmates, where the municipalities, they just started it last year where they're going to pay $32. They still hadn't paid that. So we're still $12 million in the hole. And like I was telling you earlier, we had some work done and they filed it improperly. So we lost another $7 million. So that's almost $20 million. So that's $20 million that we could have done a lot of roads with.
You know, now since you mentioned the inmates, now I sat on the municipal court for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I can recall one morning just literally getting up from the bench and walking over to Tyrone Lewis and asking him, why can't we send people to jail that need to go to jail? And they talking about the jails were full. But, you know, that ain't stopping people from doing whatever they're going to do out there. So how do we, are we rectifying that situation?
Well, what we need to do is restart our reentry program. And we're working, and I was promised to take over the reentry program so that we can get some detainees that's getting out of jail and get them some help and some training so they can get a job. Now, I have personally taken a detainee getting out of jail, and I mentored him, and he's making $16 an hour. And I asked the DA, I said, look, I need some more. I need at least 4 more. And I will meet with them every 3 months. And then they have to come to me and talk to me, and I'm going to get them started. This is what I do. I'm here to serve. I'm not here by the money. I'm not here for the position. I don't care about titles. I care about getting the job done.
Okay, now I got Tony Smith, Supervisor, District 2, Hinds County. You can call in 601-948-5950. And by the way, I'm waving for y'all that saw me waving. Solid Norwood just walked in. He's gonna be on there in a minute, you know, telling us what's happening over there in the legislature. But again, I want to make it clear. The supervisors have to get permission from the legislator on how you're gonna spend the money.
It depends on how the money came to us. First President Hills, that money could only be spent on sewage and drainage. That's the only way because that's the way it was earmarked. Cannot be used for roads, cannot be used for anything.
Okay.
It's just sewer and drainage. Now, the other $2.5 million, then each supervisor determine how they want to disperse that money. Me, it's pretty much going to go into roads. And people keep calling me, they're saying, well, District 1 and District 3 got cameras. I said, you know, they don't have the amount of roads that I have. And I have to look at what's important. I got to look at saying, okay, I got 200 roads that's bad right now. I got 200 roads that's in desperate shape. So where do I spend the money? Do I buy cameras, or do I try to fix some roads to save some lives?
Okay.
I choose to save the lives. I'm gonna get some camera. I got some money earmarked for cameras, but I'm not gonna buy the most expensive camera. I'm gonna buy a camera that's gonna get the job done. Because I was in IT and computers for 34 years, I know how to reach out there and do the research. Now I found a new camera where the other one's paying $2,500. I found a camera I can get for $500, going to accomplish the same goal, but they're gonna be mobile. So just give me 5 cameras, and I'll move them around about the county, and I won't catch you eventually.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
And it might, you know, get a little on the personal side, but
Nothing's personal. You know, I'm a politician.
and in your regard, what is the biggest impediment with the supervisor in terms of getting things done? How well can y'all work together?
Well, I can work with anybody. I once said I can work with the devil if you give me opportunity, because you know, it's so important that we remember that we took an oath. And we took an oath. We have a fiduciary responsibility. For people who don't know what that word means, that we have a responsibility to work together. And unfortunately, it's not always that way. You know, and so, but we're a work in progress. You know, you're dealing with a lot of different attitudes, a lot of different personalities. You know, I try. You know, and my problem was, I say I would restore dignity, civility, and respect. Now I don't fuss and argue. You know, some say that I use a few big words. Well, sometimes it's better to use a few big words than to use the word you want to use, because you don't want to incite a riot.
Now, okay. We used to talk about the county having $300 million. We understand now, according to
It's less. Yeah.
79 million.
Yeah.
Okay, but still that's $79 million. Okay.
Yeah.
So what type of priorities do you have for that?
You got to understand, Hinds County is the largest county in Mississippi. You got buildings, you got departments, economic development, you got Hines County Human Resources, you got the mental Hines County Mental, you got the library system. Everybody's pulling off this pie.
Okay.
And when you finish pulling off this pie, what you got left, we get the crumbs.
Okay, so now yeah, 79 million out of 300 million, it is sort of like,
Yeah.
But, okay, so, Ms. Bennett explained to us how out of that 300 million, yeah, certain agencies, like you just said, the Hines County Schools or whatever, they get their portion and you have nothing else to do with it.
Hines Community College.
Okay, so now, after you get that 79 million, now you mentioned people say supervisors stealing, right?
Yeah.
And I've heard people say, "Well, supervisors buying cars and trucks and things for people that they want." Is that possible? That's the
No, when you come in, a vehicle gets so many miles on it, you get a new vehicle. Most supervisors, when you come in, if your vehicle has been here there for a long time, got over 100,000 miles, they would put a new vehicle. But now I've only had one vehicle. Two supervisors had two. I've had one.
Mhm.
You know, and I got the cheapest truck. And my truck is the cheapest out of every last vehicle purchased.
Mhm.
You know, and I'm gonna keep my truck for 4 years. You know, I'm not into vehicles. You know, I'm into getting the job done.
Okay.
So, but a supervisor cannot go out there and purchase one. It has to go through the board. Everything works through its minutes.
Okay, so now let's talk about this new detention center.
Detention center.
Is it detention center or
Yes.
jail or what is
No, it's a detention center. And see, and people ask a lot of questions. Why can't we work the inmates? Because they're detainees. They're not prisoners.
it? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so
They used to. I know.
they used to do that, but we got sued.
Okay.
And that's the problem. You know,
Right.
you get so many people want to sue. So now you can't work them. You know, you can get some trustees, or you may get somebody. Every now and then you get a few prisoners in there. You can work those, but you can go over to Rankin County and get some of those prisoners, and you can work on the street. Why we don't do it, I don't know. But that's something we're going to work on.
Now we had a caller to call in and asked about set aside. I just mentioned that to you a minute ago. What type of plan does the supervisor have in terms of this jail and seeing that minorities get some of that work?
Well, again, the contract was
I'm
written.
saying minorities, but I
Well, there's a 25% minority already in play
uh,
in the detention center. That was started back in 22. The jail started in 22,
okay.
and we made sure that they had at least 25% minority. They have what's been allocated, what the contract said. When they wrote the contract back then, that's what they said they wanted in there, and it is in there.
Okay.
Now I've been working and bringing in people like Gibson Mechanical and other people, and introducing them to benchmarking and trying to get them in there. But what we're working on now, and I'm working with my purchasing department, is that we're going to have a trade show and get black contractors. They must come in and register. And it may
You
have
say register so that make it plain for everybody. What do you think?
you come in and register your business. See, to do business with the county, you got to register with the state and get the proper codes of your business. And then you got to register with the county.
Okay.
And you got to make sure you got your papers in line. You got to be insured, bonded, and all that. So if you're not insured or bonded, and that's been one of the biggest problems that contractors,
Yeah.
black contractors, have not been able to bond.
Right.
So when I say you may want to form an organization and get bonded through your organization, that may help some of the smaller contractors to be able to compete on a different level.
Well, is there a real effort to see that minority businesses?
There it is.
There
There is. I've brought some in myself. Some of the things that I did, I told you about the bridge crew.
Right.
I reshape the contracts and procurements. Now they used to come in and say, do this, somebody go out and do the work. Now you got to have a contract. It has to be signed by the president or you don't get paid. I implemented that. What I'm doing is I'm rebuilding the foundation.
Okay.
We got, and what's inspired out of that, District 2 has $1.5 billion worth of investments. Look at it, the Fondren Garage.
Right. Right.
We own that garage. They're building 300 apartment units around there. Guess where they're going to lease their parking places from? Hines County. That's instant income. Pearl of Loss, Middlebrook, 240 lots. You got the 220 development. You got Wilkerson Diesel on 49. You got 2 solar farms. You got this $1 billion investment in Clinton. You got the compression station is almost $1 billion. That's in Edwards. Everything is going to develop because the foundation has been set. and we're looking for a super site. So District 2 is going to grow to a phenomenal amount. We have 2 businesses coming, they're talking about coming here, going to be larger than the 1 billion.
Do you see yourself as really having an impact at something?
I do. I do.
It's anything that you really came there to do, you know, been able to do?
I came to change. I said, we've been accepting everything for too long. Now it's time for a change. I am that change. And I have been focusing on strengthening the foundation. Now, I'm not a flamboyant one going to be out there trying to take pictures with everybody. I get the job done. I'm a person, you know, I went out the other day ago because the guys had a problem with the tractor. I showed them how to level the blade up, and that's not my job,
Right.
but I showed them how to properly grade. I did that because you got to save work hours, and they appreciated that.
Right.
But that's just me. I carry a saw with my truck. So if I see a tree falling on the road, I'm going to try to cut it. If I can't move it, I'm going to call somebody.
Right. Right. Now you're listening to Supervisor Tony Smith, the newly elected supervisor, District 2.
District 2.
And as I say, you can call if you got a question time to give us a call, 601-948-5950. He's gonna take a few more minutes here because I got, as I say, Senator Norwood over there who's gonna come and give us some information that they're doing over there on the Senate. And I really got some questions for him myself, but I'm glad I'm glad to see him sitting there. But Supervisor Smith, you know, again, I'm asking, do you see that we are developing or are we going backward?
I see we're developing. I see we've established, and I've been working real close with the mayor of Jackson. We have something, a very symbolic, or what do you call it? Relationship where we're working together. We're working interlocal agreements. We've never had this before. And it's because that you got new people, new visions. And if you don't have visions, you all you have is past failures. So it's growing, and you're going to see so much happen over the next 2 to 3 years that with the One Lake project, I can foresee that we not have to worry about 2 years from now. We're not going to have to worry about how much money the state gives us because
that's encouraging.
Well, because already what we're looking at, we're going to be getting $20 million in taxes.
Okay.
So we you know, we welcome any money that the state gives us, and by right, we deserve it. Because we're the largest county, and based upon the census data, they supposed to distribute money based upon that. That's why it's so important that Black people and people in Hinds County fill out the census paper, because we get paid on that.
Well, see, now you and I are talking the same language here. That's what I've been saying, you know, for the last couple of years here. You know, in terms of respecting our numbers and really not being paranoid about this.
No.
The census people really know how many is in a household because we get money based on
We get money based on that. But what we're going to have to start doing, we're going to have to start working together. And this old thing, it takes a village to raise one kid. But, you know, if I see somebody's child doing something wrong in my neighborhood, I'm going to tell it. But so many times people don't want to tell it. If you got to grow Jackson, you got to reinvent, you got to grow it and be concerned. It's going to take not just the police, it's going to take the pastors, it's going to take the citizens, it's going to take everybody to change Jackson. Because if we don't change it, this is our last opportunity.
Do you see yourself staying in this position anytime you got some plans to let it go? Or are you discouraged or what?
I'm not discouraged, I'm encouraged. Yeah, I'm a motivator. I get energized by conflict because what made me good in computers, I'm a troubleshooter. I come in and find out what the problem is, and I diagnose it, and I fix it. I fix the computers in this radio station. So now my thing is, I don't believe nothing is final. If I work 1 or 2 terms, I want to start training somebody else because you got to get new blood in with new ideas to make this thing grow. If you stay in this thing 30 years and if nothing ain't changed, then you need to have some new blood. New blood is what gives you a strength in the body.
Okay, well, give us a parting shot from you so I can get Senator over here.
I'm gonna tell you something, people. I'm gonna tell you to have a little faith in me. And you know that one thing about me, I told you I may sell you a lot. I'm not gonna tell you a lot. I'm Supervisor Tony Smith. I've been going through a lot. You know, I've been in trial for the last 2.5 years with one David Archie. You know.
How do you see that going? I want to ask
it's pretty much over with. The judge has dismissed everybody, and there's really no case. You know, this is not about me. There's two white women, two Republicans backing David. They spent about $200,000 backing him, and they're going after the Democratic Executive Committee, because if they can destroy the Democratic Executive Committee, what happens, that destroys the black vote. That has people scared to go out and vote. So, you know, now this has cost the county probably $700,000. It's sad that this has happened. We had these things back in slavery that somebody would sell out our people. You know, so we got to learn to be together. You know, and it is so important that if we had just got the momentum up when for the voting, black people were coming out and voting, and then something like this. Look at it. City High Smith got in there by the margin she got in. That's because people didn't vote, because there's a distraction.
Right.
The wars are won by distraction and intelligence.
Right. So you see this thing coming out.
They're talking about appealing already.
Okay.
This thing will be going on until the next election.
Well, look,
He already did a campaign fundraiser.
Supervisor, Tony Smith, I'm glad you said you were coming. You came. Here you are. You know, we're gonna try to keep this thing going.
Yeah.
As I said, we're not a stupid people.
Yeah.
We're not dumb.
No.
We've been uninformed, and simply because we didn't know the right questions to ask or to have the right people to tell us the answer.
Well, if they ask me, I'm the kind of person going to answer. Now, whether you want to hear it or not,
Right.
then you better prepare yourself, because I'm not the guy that's going to tell you a lie. I'm going to tell you the truth. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry.
Well, appreciate you coming.
God bless you. Thank you. All right.
All right, I got our state senator, one of our state senators, in here. He's ready to inform us about some of the things that's happening over there in the legislature in Solid Norwood. Now, I'm glad to see you, brother. The same thing. I saw him at a community meeting, and I asked him to come, and here he is. You know, I'll say this. I remember Henry Kirky saying to me that one of the most frustrating jobs he ever had was being a senator over there in the state legislature. Well, can you expound on that?
Thank you.
And what district are you in right now?
My name is Solid Norwood, representing Senate District 28 here in Hines County.
Okay.
Excuse me, I just walked out of the chamber. We just adjourned. That's the reason I was late getting here. We just walked out. We had a one-day session that we came in to try and override some of the governor's veto.
Ooh.
As you know, that there were about 8 pieces of legislation that he vetoed.
Right.
And we couldn't agree. And today was probably one of my better or best days in the legislature.
So you said override the veto. Were there any success in this?
Well,
which ones actually were you?
what we had the rural health. There was a bill that he vetoed that was dealing with rural health.
Okay.
We didn't take it up. We had the votes to override it,
Right.
but the body did not. Legislation had to be brought forth by it was a Senate bill, so it had to be brought forth by the Lieutenant Governor.
Right.
And they did not bring it forth. But we had canvassed the chamber. They got the votes to override it.
But was that a strategy that you saw to try to keep it from being overruled?
No, I think they we were torn between the coast. The coast had a Gulf Coast restoration bill, and we didn't want them to pull an okey-doke on us.
Okay.
You do what I want first, but then I'm not going to do what you want.
Right.
You could.
Right.
So we said,
Yeah.
So our agenda, we asked them to put the piece of legislation that was going to impact rural communities, going to impact low-income, disadvantaged communities out in the rural. We asked them to bring that up first. We'll vote on it and pass it.
Mhm.
We had the votes to pass it. But if you don't bring that up, then we're not going to entertain anything else that you want to bring up. So they didn't bring that up, and so we shut it down.
So, how many senators total do we have over there?
We have 52.
52 senators.
52 senators, 18 of which are Democrats.
Okay. And how many are black?
We have 16.
16.
16.
Are they able to really have an impact on what the Senate does over there?
Sometimes, like today, today you had to override the governor's veto. It would take, I believe it was 35 votes. And we had a solid block of 18 votes. And those 18 votes was enough to override if we didn't want it, if we didn't want to override the governor's veto, we didn't, either way, we were in control of our own destiny today.
So now we hear a lot of this about gerrymandering, just trying to make it more and more difficult for Democrats or even black folks to get elected. Are they still using this maneuver? And do you see it continuing in the future?
Yes. I mean, it's there, every 10 years we go through the redistricting thing, and the court's rule this year, we picked up 2 additional Senate seats, one in Hattiesburg and one in DeSoto County. I guess I should say Forest County, and one in DeSoto County. And those 2 votes have made the difference. So when we have the votes to do some things and everybody stay together, we can impact the system. And today was a good example of that.
So how long have you been over there?
I've been there since 2013.
2013.
Yes.
Have you personally, and that's, I guess it's just a personal question, have you been able to be successful in any bill that you promoted?
I've been, well, I guess we look at success in different ways.
Okay.
It's the role that you play. Because I'm not we don't have any major chairpersons. And the chairperson, I've brought forth some good legislation, but you got to work it to get out of committee. First of all, if it doesn't get out of committee, it doesn't count. If you get it out of committee, and or if it's a good piece of legislation, you would see the chairman's name on it or some other majority name on there. It's your legislation, but and you never get the benefit. I won't say the benefit or the credit, whatever you want to say there. But I am of the opinion that good legislation is good legislation. So I never when I walked in the door, I got my first piece of legislation passed. And since then I've been co-authored on some legislation, but no.
What are some of the legislation that you are promoting that you would like to see get there?
I would like for us to see, and especially in the restoration of individuals' rights, once they have completed their sentence and paid all the debts that they owe, that their rights are automatically absolutely that they're automatically restored. That right now you have to we have to complete legislation, and you petition the legislature, and we have to go up and down as to whether to grant you your rights. And I think that if you have done what you're supposed to have, or we set the additional criteria, we set that, and that your rights are automatically restored.
That's been a tactic that has been used against African Americans for years. I even stated on my last show that out of the total number of prisoners in our state prisons, Black folks make up 68% of it.
I think it's probably even more than that. And I look at our budget, that I believe that's like the 3rd highest budget in the state when you look at K-12, community IHL, community college, and correction. Correction is about around $400 million hit to our budget. So actually, when you look at what we are paying to incarcerate individuals, is basically equal to or greater than what we pay to educate.
And speaking of education, now what kind of impact do the legislature have on, let's say, higher education? Because that's a big argument that people are having now. We have a call. Let's see. Go ahead, caller. You're on there.
You need to fix your screen because we can't see you or the senator.
Okay, thank you. We will do that. Bye.
Rich from Washington.
Go ahead, Carla, you on there?
Thank you. So, Judge, I got in on the short leg, and I'll tell you, the bit that I've heard, I am so glad I did. You have a guest, individual who are sharing with us the reality of what it is like to attempt to get things passed. You know, those other folks allow us to pivot. Mississippi won't be on the bottom because the brother and sister got great ideas. Great ideas. But it's hard as dickens to get it through other people's big head. And it's not just for our benefit, it's to benefit them too. Thank you, man, for accepting my call. I'm gonna get off so I can hit the brother 6 months. Yeah, man.
I appreciate you. Well, again, I got Senator Norwood here and we could,
Good evening. Apologies for my tardiness. We just completed our House session for the year for Sine Die. We were a little later than the Senate was. I am Representative Grace Butler, Washington, and I have the honor and privilege of representing House District 69.
so now we were talking about, we were talking about incarceration, but what are the major factors, one of the major factors that you think is preventing us from getting more people in the Senate and in the legislature? I mean, Black folks, that is, specifically.
I think the way the districts are drawn, and with the two new Senate districts, which we fare very well, but you know, the districts are overpopulated with African Americans. And so we have with both Black voting age population, probably maybe three other districts that we may be competitive in. But we are close to probably maxing out. And that's what reading the courts redrew the lines in DeSoto County and Forest County, because they were they were districts that we could have been and should have been competitive.
Mhm. Now, we want to know what are your major priorities over in, let's say, for you, and what would you like to see done?
Well, to say from the question you just asked, Judge Shamsuddin, I think on the House side, we have a couple of seats that are now currently being held by Republicans that could possibly be based on the demographics of the area they represent. They could possibly be flipped.
Okay.
You know, when you look at some of the major cities that a lot of Republicans are representing on our side,
Mhm.
most of them are over 60%
Yeah,
African American.
yeah.
So when we think about how we can gain more Democrats and more Blacks that come to the legislature, that's a way as well.
Mhm.
Being able to find those qualified candidates, you know, that are willing to sacrifice and run and come and represent the Democratic Party with their ideals. And my priorities for this session have been to make sure my district, which is House District 69, the seat that was formerly held by Representative Alice Clark, with the redistricting, two separate areas were lost, but I have portions of West Central Jackson and South Jackson. Just being able to work with our City of Jackson and the Hinds County Board of Supervisors on things such as infrastructure needs, trying to see what we can do for some type of economic development to be brought back into this area. You know, with our Highway 80 corridor being what welcomes people to the City of Jackson. It connects Clinton and Pearl, and when you get to it, you see such a different look. So just working with my colleagues in the Senate to get things of that nature on our books.
Are you there? One question that people ask me about is how well do y'all work together?
I can say on the Senate side. Senate side, in the Senate side, it's 18 Democrats,
Mhm.
16 African American, and 2 Hart Bryan and David Blunt. And on most occasions, we are together. like we met today and, we had, 18 votes for a solid vote. We couldn't afford to lose one vote. And we did not lose one. And like I said, I just texted our chairperson on his way home and I told him, you know, when we vote together, when we stand together and we vote for our folks, we win. Everybody won. And winning is not always winning,
Mhm.
if you will. Because if they had brought that legislation up, it would have been a win for low income, the rural, but since they didn't bring it up, we didn't vote on it.
Mhm.
Because if we voted on it, we were gonna pass it and it would have been better for our colleagues out in the rural area. But since they didn't bring it up, then you didn't bring it up for the rural, then the suburban areas, like the coastal area, did not benefit.
Now, over there, the legislature, you got how many legislators over there and how many of
We
us?
have 122 in the House. We have a total of, I want to say 35 Democrats
Democrat?
that we have in the House. And most of the time, I can say that, you know, we work together to agree. And it's not going to be anything where everybody agrees 100% on
Mhm.
everything.
Mhm.
But we know that we hold the numbers in everything. Like Senator Norwood said with today, like on our side was the same. We all wanted, you know, we were told we were being brought back for one thing, and we get there with something different because
Good.
everybody wanted the rural hospitals to be able to have funding. And when it came to the city of Jackson, we had support from our colleagues that were outside of the city of Jackson that didn't represent Jackson. As to-
Hold on just a second.
we had the support from, you know, our colleagues that even though they did represent Jackson, whatever the Jackson delegation wanted in regards to overriding his vetoes for the items that we're not receiving funding for, everyone was on board in support of that.
We're gonna get to that Jackson thing. Go ahead, Carl. You got a question?
Yes, sir. I'm a voter, and the people that in there, they represent Jackson. I'm a Jackson resident, but I don't know what they look like. So are y'all streaming live somewhere?
You can go on YouTube. Yeah, I'm streaming StreamYard on YouTube. Also on my Facebook, you can go on Attorney Samson Dean at Facebook. You can see it then. But if you go on YouTube,
Stream y'all on YouTube?
yes,
Okay. All right, thank you.
what kind of presence does Jackson have with you guys, you know, in terms of really understanding what the problems are in Jackson and how you might be able to help?
Well, I mean, you know, I point just cut through the chase, okay? Part of our problem is Jackson, City of Jackson, we need to make sure their audits are done properly
Mhm.
and on time.
Mhm.
The same thing for Hines County. Need to make sure their audits are done and on time and up to date. The law, as you know,
Mhm.
you're supposed to have a current audit when you
yeah.
apply for federal funds, and the same thing for the states. Now, we have been very fortunate that we have received some funds going to the county and going to the city without the audit.
Mhm.
But we can't jump up and down if the city or the county is not doing what they're supposed to do.
Would you concur with that?
Yes, I would concur.
Okay, so I was just saying last week, you know, when the mayor came out and said that the city of Jackson is $30 million in debt, we got a city council over there. That's their role. That's their responsibility to manage the money. So I'm wondering how that would happen. But does the city of Jackson actually have any lobbyists over there? Or do they
Yes,
come over there and try to help?
They do.
they're over there, but like I said, the monies that were awarded to the city this time, and I think that's where a lot of miscommunication is. The city's obligation, anything that the state gives to the city should be over, above, and beyond.
Mhm.
The city or the county should depend on appropriation from the state to perform their function as a state, as a city, or because we give the diversion tax
Mhm.
come to the city. So if we, I mean, the budget should be built on that. I mean,
Okay, but let's say that again, and I want both of you to chime in on that, but we, you know, the city of Jackson always saying it's broke. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? And the state is not doing enough. What's your position on that? I mean,
well, I mean, I think I agree. I think that we should help or we can do more.
okay,
But I don't support just giving Jackson or the
Right,
county the money when they're not doing what they're supposed to do to manage the money that they have.
okay,
I mean, we got children.
right,
We give our children money, but you don't go out there and throw your money away and then come to me and ask me for money. And a lot of that, I mean, supervisors were just here.
right.
They turning back $20 million in federal fund because they don't have, because of a $5 million match. They can't sit around the table and talk about it. How we can come up with this $5 million to get $20 million, which is a what? $15 million net.
Right.
So I'm saying that I think that it's things like, so then if you're gonna turn back federal dollars, now if I'm on the and it's gonna look bad on the federal and state, that's exactly right. And you can use those, and it's unfortunate to us as citizens to go without. When all you gotta do is sit around the table and work this thing out.
Well, that's why I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you pointing this out.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate too, because of the fact that if you're turning down money, but then you turn around and you come to us at the legislature to ask for funding
Mhm.
for, whether it's the city or the county, but you're turning down money because of the fact that everyone can't work together and come to agreement to figure out how can we get this match. Because my question that I say all the time is that if the legislature does not give our city or our county funding, how will we survive? How will we make it? Is it anyone forward thinking that's saying if they don't give us any special projects, if we don't get any money from the legislature, what can we do besides raise our taxes
Mhm.
and things of that nature to make the citizens see that, these are the forward thinking and the out of the box things that you're thinking as those that we've elected to move forward. Because last year we didn't have any, no special projects, none
And that special projects are just that. They're special
special
projects.
projects. Yes.
You got 6 guys go in a room and they determine we submit a list. They go in a room and they determine we're gonna give you this.
Mhm.
And personally, I don't think it's a good way. I like for us to allocate or appropriate dollars based on needs.
Right.
If Hands County, if we got this pool here and we want Hands County or Jackson or Malvern, whomever, you submit a proposal and we rank that or rate that and apply it from that standpoint. But I just think that we can't build our budgets based on what we're gonna get from the state.
But a lot of people, again, and I concur with what you're saying, but a lot of us get the impression that the city of Jackson or Hinds County is broke because
The state
is not giving money.
Absolutely not.
So
Absolutely
you're just
not.
feeling that right now?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I mean, even look at the jail. We should not be building a jail if we don't have the money. We went out there and decided to build a jail, didn't have a plan to generate that money.
Okay.
And if we look at our expenditures, see what we have to have a balanced budget.
Okay.
We have to have a balanced budget, and we don't with our budget about $7 billion,
Mhm.
and you don't even budget up to the $7 billion.
Okay.
So I think that the county and the city have to be good stewards of our tax dollars,
Mhm.
because we, that they tax you and me and all of us
Right.
to make their budget, and when you get to your budget, you gotta stop spending.
So do you, either one of you have a particular project that you're promoting that you hope to see come into fruition?
Well, we're waiting on the governor to sign the bill. And as we've been up there today, we weren't able to override vetoes for certain legislation. And I think that we all have worked together in some aspect as the City of Jackson delegation and the Hinds County delegation to make sure those things that would benefit both the city and the county
Mhm.
come to fruition. And individual projects that we have, those who have received funding for their individual projects, congratulations, and I'm excited about those who have those, but making sure that those projects are complete and done.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Carly, you're on there.
Hello?
Yes, you're on there.
Hey, Tim, Gregory Wallace, I'm a Democrat. I ran for governor of Mississippi in 2019 and 2023. I'm gonna run again this year. This is our country. We need our behind whoop. This is our civic duty. This is our country. Don't belong to a political party. We sit on our hands and them doors like a dog, no chance without representation.
Did
We
you,
can do better than these people support that demand better. We're supposed to have take this.
do you have a,
I'm opposed to people.
do you have a question? Do you have a question for either one of my guests here?
I'm saying that somebody up Jackson. We take out.
Two.
Back there, why all of us?
I agree with you on that. I can't argue with you on that. Go ahead, Carly, you're on there.
That caller was on fire. I just want to engage and get some knowledge or get an answer to a question. So I folks just want to fuss and accomplish absolutely nothing. I hope they listen. Next time you call, have something to ask to say, because all you did was waste your time.
Go ahead,
I have a question about Senate Bill 1662. That was that new custody bill. Judge and Attorney Sampson, I know you're very familiar with that bill. I would love to hear how Senator Norwood voted on the bill. I don't know if it made it to the House, but I also would love to hear how the state representative would have voted if it did, or if it had made it to the House. How would she voted on that new custody bill, Senate Bill 1662?
I voted in affirmative. I voted for it.
Great. And you state representative?
For that bill, the custody one, I voted for that one as well. That was the one where it was the 50-50 custody.
Yes.
And
Okay, y'all answer my question.
Thank you for your call,
That's a
Carly.
very important bill.
Thanks for your call.
Bye-bye.
and let me share. That this is the list. This is what's called the project list.
Mhm.
This is what's called the project list. And the on here, these are funds that we receive to come into to the county, or the city. That doesn't necessarily, I mean, this is coming from the bond program, so it doesn't necessarily have, last year we didn't have one, next year we probably won't have one. And I can give you this. This is
Yes, sir.
the floor is blocked, security. And some of these are projects that we didn't necessarily request that's coming into the city or coming into the county. Lobbyists requested, some other entities requested,
Yeah.
and the governor vetoed the airport. The airport, we appropriated $500,000 to go to the airport to serve as match to help them to, I believe it was a $19 or $20 million grant that they had applied for, but they needed a match.
Right.
He vetoed that, and part of his veto was that he didn't want to appropriate money to someone that was suing the state.
The
So,
state, yeah.
well, and the state is suing them as well. So it's a double-edged sword.
Right.
And then there was $250,000 to go to the Pete Brown golf course for some upgrades. He vetoed that as well, and said he didn't want to participate in the we're not going to spend
Well,
tax.
he said we weren't gonna spend tax dollars on a golf course.
And that's the last year I think it was we had
He gave to Pete.
right, yeah, and
Mhm.
and this right here, these are funds that I'm sure some of the lobbyists advocated for. But when they sit down, they have the authority to pick and choose what they want to fund.
Okay.
And there's nothing that you either vote for it And we obviously had to vote for it because this $400,000 is going to the city to address the senior citizen centers here in the city, in particular West Side.
Right, the ones that were closed.
Well, yeah, well, they've moved over to they're in the library now, but there's some efforts to try to get them back into place. This for paving of the city of Jackson, $4 million to as a match for Federal Highway to address Woodrow Wilson, $70,000 to address or level
Levelwood
with
Sparks and Sykes Sparks, the trees that are up there, but that 400,000 for the infrastructure, it will do Woodrow Wilson, Medgar Evers, and portions of McDowell Road as well.
So let me be clear on this. Is this money that is now coming or is not coming?
This is
This is coming.
everything. I think I know this was vetoed.
Mhm.
This was vetoed.
And that one
And
was
this was,
vetoed.
I think those were the only three in there that were vetoed.
Mhm.
So those will be funds that will be helpful to the city of Jackson and
And Tax Cap, yes, they will. They will, yeah. And I'm
But
gonna make a correction right quick. We have a total of we have 42 Black representatives and 1 white Democrat.
Okay,
So,
okay.
mhm.
What would you say would be for us, the general citizens out here? How can we be helpful to you? That's what we would, we would like to know. First of all, I'm glad you're here so people can have a better idea of what you do. But is there anything as citizens that you would see from our standpoint other than register to vote, I guess?
Yeah, I agree, register to vote. And I had a constituent to reach out to me that is a neighborhood association president. And when everyone talked about the projects, when everything came out last week about the projects, she gave some insight as to what she would like to see next year for next year's session as either appropriation or a project for the area within my district that she lived in, that her neighborhood was in, for the neighborhood association that she represented. And so I thought that was different because I haven't had, even though this is my 3rd year, my first term, I haven't had a constituent as a neighborhood association president to say, when I explained to her what the process was for projects, then she gave insight on what she thought may be an additional project. So I think things like that help us as we go throughout, the session and throughout our districts, because we can't see everything and we may miss something, not being able to see what may be more important to our constituents. So things like that help.
So to kind of wrap things up here over down to the last couple of minutes, how would your constituents get in touch with either one of you? If they just wanted to say, this is my, I don't know what is my senator, how would they get in touch with you?
I don't remember my number, but
And he was the senator for House District
And tell us again
69.
and tell us-
Grace Butler Washington, and Senator Norwood is my counterpart that I work with on the Senate side because he's the senator for my House district.
Okay.
Mhm.
but my number, the best way to get me is 601-359-2224. And we have committee assistants. They are there and they answer the phone and get in contact with me. I can give you my email address. My email address is snorwood.senate. I'm sorry, snorwood@senate.ms.gov. And I check my emails. If you call the Capitol, that's the best way to get me because we're in and out of there. Even though we're out of session, we're in there. We have, I try to keep office hours. And if I'm not there, they'll call me. And I feel a lot of calls, especially, we've had some challenge with the correction system. And not on correction, but parents call regarding their loved ones. And, we do our best to get with them and try to facilitate that.
Well, we would wrapping up now, but I do want to invite you both back. I think, again, I said we're not a stupid people. We're not dumb. We've just been uninformed. Nobody really took the time to really tell us what we send these people up there to do these jobs that they do.
I agree.
And just as you just emphasized here now, we just had the supervisor here saying that the state didn't give them any money last year. This type of,
Well,
So
they
we
getting
need
ready
to
to
know
get
who's-
two. They
who's
getting
what.
ready to get 2 point. How much is it, Senator Norwood?
They're gonna get about $7.2
$7.2
million.
million. Yes.
Mount Z, right? They're gonna get about
Yes, and
7.
they'll have about 2 million that will be for infrastructure, 2.5 million that goes for costs associated with infrastructure improvements within the county.
Well, I appreciate you both coming. And again, I want to invite you back.
We will. We'll have to come back.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we would have been here, but like I said,
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you came. But see, I get so tired of people saying we ignorant. We have, okay, but we're stupid. No,
like, and you got that, and if you want,
He-
if you want this, I mean, this is the Guardian's this is these are the deals that he vetoed and all his messages, so you got all that.
Uh-huh.
all right. We're gonna do a program on that. We're gonna
I
do a
say that too, and I say that we aren't an ignorant group of people. We just don't know.
Don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know how things are done. And see, white folks got 200 years head start on other people. We just learning this process.
I mean, they, and we don't need to give them, but for those arguments, we don't need to give them.
As to why
We can't give them money because they don't have. And then what's
and the surrounding cities around Jackson and our county, they have everything they need when they go to ask for money. So that doesn't help us either.
I know you have to go. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next time, you know, hope, well, he gonna call us in for nothing else. We done for the